Do you want me to talk about practical tips, like go
That'd be
over?
great. Yeah.
Okay. Um, oh, and I don't know if you, but like we have these. Oh,
Yes.
wait. It's so weird when I can't see who's me. Okay. I have two of you and one,
Oh, okay.
like all these somehow, all these screen, there's like a small you here. But we have all of these cards with tips on the back, and they're all on our website with different kind of different themes. Like this is about sperm damage and erectile dysfunction, links to breast cancer, and anyway, more geared for teens, not sleeping with your phone.
That's great.
Um, so with your phone, how you can reduce exposure is first is using a corded phone whenever possible. I mean, I want to start out by saying use a corded phone whenever possible, especially for your long calls. You have to make a long call at home. But if you need to use a cell phone and you want to minimize your exposure, remember that distance is your friend. So you want to keep the phone as far away from your body as possible. So you can put it on a table over here and put it on speaker. And keep your voice calls short if you can. Prefer texts rather than long phone calls. And again, save them for when you are at a corded phone. Be mindful of how much reception you have, because if you're in an area of low reception, like if you're in a basement, or sometimes people go into elevators where you have metal all around you, the phone is actually going to go to higher power. More is going to be absorbed in more intense rates are going to be absorbed into your body. As well, and this was the hardest for me, the hardest thing, because again, it was a journey for me, not using the phone in the car. So as a mom, the car was the only place that I could make calls because you can't, I'm at home, I got kids screaming, I'm doing diapers, all this. But boy, as I learned about the phone in the car, you've got metal around you, the radiation is intensified. Also, as you're traveling through space, the phone is connecting with every new cell tower that you pass it's in the cell of, actually. So not using your phone in the car, turning it off, be powering all the antennas off when you get in the car. One thing that's a really good way to sort of know how to handle things is like a mother with a child, a young child. The young child is always, you go to a new space, the baby is like going away from you, coming close, going away, coming close, but always you know where your baby is and your baby knows where you are in any room. Similarly, though I don't want to compare a machine to people, but similarly, the phone always knows where the tower is and is always checking in with that tower with pulses. So even when you're not using the phone, you're not making a call, if the phone's on your body, it's still emitting radiation that's going through your body, checking in with the tower. Similarly, your devices like your laptop, tablets, wireless speakers, they are also checking in with their base station, with the router. So, and if your router's in one room and hopefully far away from where you sleep and eat and live, if you have a wireless router, but you're in an area of weak reception all the way on the other side of the house, your devices are actually going to emit more radiation trying to connect to the router. But then when you're near the router, you're getting the router radiation more, plus the device router, so plus the radiation from the device. So just know that, because one tip is like, let's say you have to use Wi-Fi, you're in a situation, maybe you're in a hotel, or maybe you have Wi-Fi right now and you can't change it right now. Turn the Wi-Fi antennas off your device when you're not using them. Let's say you're typing emails and you can still use that program. Just click up, turn the antennas off. If you're looking at your pictures or organizing or writing in Word, do that with the antennas off. Keep it off. Always keep devices off your lap and on a table, because devices emit not just wireless radiation, but also another kind of electromagnetic radiation and magnetic fields from the power. Let's see, connect to the internet with Ethernet and wired connections whenever possible. If you're going to stream large files, do that in a corded connection. Something that happens with my teenagers that I'm seeing is all of this FaceTiming. And here we are actually communicating on video as well. I'm
all corded up though.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But I see some people at the store and they're on FaceTime with their friends while they're doing things. That is a lot. Be aware that whenever you're moving video or pictures, those are larger files, which means more radiation. So you want to do things that emit less radiations to reduce your exposure. Let me see. Oh, I should point out, this is the New Jersey Educational Association recommendations on how to minimize risk from electronic devices. And check out their recommendations. They deal not just with the radiation issue, but also eye health and posture. And they talk about back pain. You know, kids are looking down like this. They're actually getting text neck, I think is the word. Right. When you're sitting on the floor crisscross applesauce with a device, that is not good for your body. Right. And occupational health-wise, like worker safety, you actually need to have things on a table, proper format. But with our kids are using devices and they're all hunched over and they're in all these positions. Think about that and set up a healthy workspace for your child and for yourself. At night, I know you talk about this, but to have a sleep sanctuary where you have turned off the wireless, removed all those devices that could emit radiation out of the bedroom, not having electrical cords running underneath your bed. Some people sleep with their phone. Don't sleep with your phone on. First, try to get a battery alarm clock rather than using the phone. If you need to use the phone, have it be with all the antennas off. But make sure that you're turning the Wi-Fi off, the hotspot off, the Bluetooth, and still have it at a distance. And I say that because some phones, even when you turn them on airplane mode now, have other antennas that are coming on, and that you need to figure out with your device. But don't sleep with your phone.
So if you use airplane mode, before it used to automatically turn off Bluetooth also, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and then I started noticing, sometimes Bluetooth is on. I don't know if that was because of an upgrade in the software, but you're saying there are additional antennas besides Bluetooth and Wi-Fi?
Well, we're finding that two things are happening. One is you can turn everything off, and then some antennas are being woken up, but you don't even know about it, depending on the make and model of your phone. So maybe you turn it on airplane mode and you've turned everything off. Then you go to do something on your phone. It doesn't ask you, can I turn on the Wi-Fi antenna? It just does turn the Wi-Fi antenna on. Plus, there are some new phones, some of the newer phones that I can't speak to make and model, but the latest ones last year, where we found there were antennas that you couldn't even turn off. So you need to find out when you buy a phone to make sure that all those antennas can go off. And location, there's the location. It's different depending. Oh, a good tip is if you're in the car, we all are using our phones. Well, I'm not, but a lot of people use phones for directions. I actually have an old-fashioned GPS, and I type it in, and it doesn't radiate that I use. But you can, if you have a phone, get the directions and the maps up, and then turn the antennas off, and it can still navigate using the GPS, but it's not sending signals out or receiving anymore. You've turned it off. It's just telling you where to go. The GPS satellite, it does depend on what you're using, but we found that, like with my GPS, you're not actually sending and receiving signals. It's only receiving from the satellite what's already there. You're not changing anything in the car.
Okay. That's a great tip. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And, I've learned a lot by using my phone less because I've sort of learned where things are.
Yeah.
I have to pre-plan. People don't pre-plan anymore, but I pre-plan when I'm going to be where and talk to people in advance. And I drove to, gosh, where'd I go? I went to Rhode Island, and I didn't have a GPS, and I actually didn't have a phone with me, and I had maps, and I got lost. And I talked to all these amazing people who I met from trying to figure out where I was going, and I got a taste of the culture of where I was. It was an amazing experience. It was really interesting. I hadn't done that in a long time because I've been so reliant on the technology.
Yeah, I think when people are ready to pursue an alternative existence that's more old-fashioned and less dependent on technology, their lives can become so enriched with like the adventure you experienced, the people you spoke to, and it just made you more available for other things that were really wonderful.
Yeah. You're not interrupted all the time either. Like take breaks from your phone, where you can, because it's always beeping and blinging, and take a break and just be and get bored. We need to get bored more, and our kids need to get bored. That's when the best ideas come, is when there's that space to just process and think. So
No, go ahead.
I had one thing that is really, I found so hard when I go to parents' house. They ask me to come over and I bring my meter. Video gaming consoles. They emit radiation, and they emit even when you're not using them, some of them. So there's both the box and then there's the handhelds. You can hardwire the handhelds, and I don't have one, so I need to learn more about this, but those boxes should be unplugged when they're not in use because they really are radiating all the time. And I think we have to ask, although I think video game addiction is real and is an issue, if kids are going to be using this for however long they want, we should be able to have it be not radiating them. And there's a way the companies can do it. We just need to ask them.
Yeah. Also, the music speakers, a lot of them are wireless.
Yes, I've had to, I end up having to go online to buy a lot of things because when I go to the store, I can't get one that's not Bluetooth or wireless. So the speakers, even the things you put on the head that,
the noise cancellation?
Yeah, and then they also play with, like they have Bluetooth to connect to your phone. Those are emitting radiation.
And the fitness accessories, right?
Yeah, those radiate all the time. They're like, we've measured them constantly. So I heard there's a brand you can turn on airplane mode. And so now when you buy electronics, anything that has any wireless or Bluetooth, the question is, one, can I get it without that? Two, can I turn it on airplane mode so that I can choose when I want to turn it on? So with the Fitbit or those fitness trackers, why not? It doesn't need to be radiating all the time back to your phone. You can make a decision about when it uploads. But better yet, have it have a cord. Why not just when you take it off once a week or every day and you just plug it in and upload it? People might say that's inconvenient, but it's like anything else. It's like, well, there are a lot of inconvenient truths. And when your kid gets sick, we know how that is, right? Everything changes. Everything you plan to do, you don't do. You might have had a wedding to go to, but you don't go because your child is sick and you're taking care of your child. And when a child is very sick, that's even, how some people say, well, we have to weigh the benefits with the costs.
Right.
And let's think about those costs, because we're not talking about a rash only, or we're talking about some serious health issues. So
we didn't even talk about fertility or a healthy pregnancy outcome, but that's also, I know, actively being studied. Yeah. And when I can't think of anyone right now who had a very smooth pregnancy and delivery. And so if you have a hard time getting pregnant or you miscarry, you would do anything to have a healthy child. And these are simple tips that help create a healthy lifestyle that, it's as important as sleeping well and eating well and exercising.
Yeah, it really is simple once you once you sort of know it. We need to know that. Do you know about the Baby Safe program, the Baby Safe project? And I know you interviewed Dr. Hugh Taylor as well, who at the press conference for the Baby Safe project, he shared his research on mice, and there's enough research that I think it's over 270 educators and doctors and experts have signed on to that campaign with simple tips about reducing exposure to your, when you're pregnant, because especially later in the pregnancy, there's a very thin layer of skin that you have, and the baby's skull and brain is so vulnerable and not formed, and it's the most vulnerable time. So
yeah. Has he found any research on how cell phone radiation affects fertility? Because when I spoke to him, I think there wasn't yet strong science on it.
Well, there was a study that I was actually just looking at about miscarriage and cell phone use. There's certainly research out of Kaiser Permanente. Are you familiar with that research that looked at they measured magnetic fields, which is paired along with extremely low frequency fields, another kind of electromagnetic radiation, and found a higher, this was a replicated study, a higher miscarriage rate, as well as his research showed increased asthma, increased obesity. And I believe there's another study he presented at a conference, it hasn't been published yet, on impacts to the thyroid. But those were a replicated study on miscarriage, looking at different frequencies, but the whole premise, the assumption that non-ionizing radiation cannot cause harm, is what's busted by those studies, because these are very low levels and effects were found. So the real issue is why don't we have, considering how much exposure there is, why isn't this the most important? Why isn't this top of the line what our government is researching, and governments around the world? They're not. They're really not. And sometimes when they are, there's all this industry involvement in this funky way that just, so this should be top priority, in my opinion.
I agree, and we need everyone to get on board. I mean, it's helpful too, because we now all accept that cigarette smoke is harmful. But it took so long for us to accept that. And so we just collectively, as a human race, have a really hard time accepting that something so popular is not good for us. But I think the fact that more people than ever have health issues, and they're starting at increasingly younger ages, that's getting more people to think outside the box and recognize, my doctor doesn't know everything about health. And I'm wondering if there's anything in my environment that might have something to do with this. So I'm finding just through my work that because of people's own personal chronic symptoms, they just want to feel better. They want to sleep better, or they have someone they care about who has something more serious. And that's when it really resonates. But like me, until I was healthy my whole life, I mean, I never felt great, but I thought that was just my normal. And then after I started, I always ate well, exercised a lot, and still felt really bad. And after I started becoming more mindful of the toxic chemicals in my diet, even though I thought I was making healthy choices, and in other household things, I started to feel much more in my body. Thank you so much for what you do. There's so many times I was just so grateful for the Environmental Health Trust and what it does.
Thank you. Thank you so much for spreading the word. And please, ehtrust.org is our website. Please go to our website and learn more. Go to our, we have a YouTube where we upload scientific lectures and information for every level of what you're interested in, and be you a policymaker or a parent. So just learn more and get involved. We have resources for parents working on Wi-Fi in school too. And, we're moving forward.
And I want to know what you put on the earphone.
Ferret bead. There's the word. It popped my mind. It's called a ferret bead, Ferrite bead. And
I've heard of it. It works.
I would recommend using it, even like, let's say you have a wired computer and you're using headset, use it for everything and put it away from you, closer to the device, not to your head. And what it does is it blocks it's used by engineers to stop the electromagnetic interference, but our bodies are similar, right? I mean, so ferret bead. Okay. Just buy like a bunch of them off the internet. I just buy like a load of them, and I'm always losing them, and because they're teeny, and then I'm just always clamping them everywhere on
all the wires.
On the headsets. Because my husband uses a wired headset. I don't actually use a phone so much, and I have an air tube one. Yeah. But I would use an air tube. They're such a pain, and you lose them, and they break, and
Okay. I have one. I just don't use it. I find it uncomfortable. It feels like it's always going to fall out of my ear.
Maybe you have a bad one then. Experiment till you find one that's better.
Okay.
It's too